Probably 15 papers in this group. And the guy
have to take a little time.
I just want to do that.
I know you don't. But I
Good evening, and welcome to the July 10th, 2017 City of Cross Lake Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first thing on our agenda tonight is the approval of some additions, and for that we need a motion from the council.
I'll make a motion to approve the additions.
David Nevin first, second.
I'll second that.
Dave Schrupp. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, we will go to the consent calendar, and it certainly never gets shorter. But all items listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be acted on in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a citizen or council member so requests. Can I have a motion on the consent calendar?
So moved.
Dave Schrupp first.
I'll second it.
Gary Heacock second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Under critical issues tonight, we have guests from the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway Association, and we had received a letter from them requesting a donation, which we have given every year. And so I thought this year we will have someone from the Byway come and talk to us about what their plans are and what's happening. So please give us your name and your address.
Excuse me, Rod Nelson. And my address is 12020 Anchor Point Road. I see what we're addressed as here, the request for membership dues. Since it's already in there, I'm going to say, well, it's more than that. We really want to be put in the budget full-time every year so that we can count on a certain amount to boost us as we work through the year. I might put on your desks one of these tear-off sheets, which I'm sure many of you have seen around the city, etc. And that is a product of the Byway, and now with the Whitefish Lodge Association too, to produce that. As far as the Byway itself, I first want to tell you that the Paul Bunyan Byway is not the Paul Bunyan Trail. The Paul Bunyan Byway is not the Paul Bunyan Trail. Okay, now we all know what it is, if you know what the Paul Bunyan Trail is. And it doesn't start at Brainerd, nor does it go up to Walker. So we've got that all cleared. It is that, the outline as on this map. I don't know if you have to, I can just set it down. The red sort of shows us on Highway 1, on 11, on 16, on 15. I don't know, will that go there? It gives you an idea of where we are. It's 54 miles long. It surrounds the Whitefish chain of lakes. It goes through 14 townships and jurisdictions, and it goes through 2 counties. For you to use the Byway, all you have to do is stop at the kiosk points, which are marked with signs, and walk to the kiosk and read what's on the kiosk. By doing that, you will be thrilled and excited for what Paul has to say, and you'll also be enthusiastic about moving on to the next kiosk, which is someplace, depending what direction you go. And it's fun for your kids, and it'll be fun for your grandmother, and just Remember that that's what it's for, those little kiosks. They're out there. They are actually out there. Some of them you can see from the road. We also have a website, a tremendous website that gives us a lot of information, and that's important. If you really want to find out more about the byway, it's a heavy-duty website, but it's fun, and you can actually just take a tour of the byway doing the website if you don't feel like walking. Well, actually, we'd like you to see the byway for sure, though. Minnesota has 21 byways, designated byways by the state. 8 of them, actually 7 of them, are also designated as National Scenic Byway, which that is what the Paul Bunyan Byway is, a National Scenic Byway. This gives us, well, along with that too, we have also partnered with the Corps of Engineers on many activities that we do as well, so we're usually sometimes pretty close together on things. The purpose of the byway, obviously, is to, in a sense, enhance the whole community that it is involved in through historical things, archaeological things, geological things. There's a couple more areas as well that you look for and watch for around the byway and begin to point them out to tourists. Believe it or not, tourism for byways is a big thing in the U.S. So there are lots of people who come up to this area because of tourism. Now, the interesting thing about the Paul Bunyan name, I didn't realize it till becoming involved in it. There were many mythical characters that we grew up with, and I can't remember them all. You all know who they are. Anyway, the only one that is really left is Paul Bunyan. He has survived the test of time. Now, with that means that across the nation, there are only a few states that do anything with a Paul Bunyan. And actually, Minnesota does one heck of a job with Paul Bunyan. And he's so famous that he has there's 200 books at the University of Minnesota's library about Paul Bunyan, about the whole, how it all came to be. So know that he is alive and well and living in Minnesota. We are guided by the Department of Transportation and this book. And I'm not going to read it, but rather just say, this is all the information we make use of when we have our board meeting or membership meeting and are looking in directions to go or examining what we have done in the past. It's put out by the Minnesota regional districts for all of the byways, so we had to sit down and fill out this whole thing, bring everybody up to date every 5 years. That's our little Bible. It's on the website if you want to have some interesting reading. Let's see. Because we're a byway, we have access to grants and money, providing those grants and are offered out there. We have the partnership with the DNR, with the Minnesota Historical Society, with the Explore Minnesota Tourism, and with the University of Minnesota as well. These kinds of places in the past, we have actually had grants to the byway to get it where it is today. And when we bump into something such as the garden outside of the Corps of Engineers headquarters, the Linda Euland Garden, there was a grant involved in that. And with grants often comes, as you probably well know, sometimes matching funds. And with matching funds, that's when you look into your budget and you say, oh. And then you check to see what happened to it. Actually, the budget is run real well. We aren't in any kind of financial difficulty, but rather it's good to have all jurisdictions paying a share so we can say, well, at least we've got this much money. We only need to find X amount after that. What do we do? Well, we carry out fun activities for the people who are around the area. We participate in the activities of the communities. We maintain the kiosks, which now that they are about 20 years old, there's some maintenance required, and those things, if they fall down or have to be relocated or something, they are heavy. But painting them is an important thing. We also set aside money to honor Ron Johnson, who was our treasurer, and with red maples, trees planted around the byway area. Our goal was 500. We got 15 or 25 planted last fall. It was the suggestion of Keith Simar that the area could use a little more red in its woods. So we're out planting red in the woods, which should look pretty nice in a few years. I hope some of us are still there. The Linda Ulen Garden is a fun little thing for you, for your kids, your grandkids. There's lots of little things for them to do, and it even has an outhouse, which can be a lesson to your friends and neighbors and what that's all about too. But it has turned out to be everything that the Corps of Engineers, I see Corinne sitting back there with the Corps, and Lynn Sharonbrock, and as well as Linda Ulen. Well, she was the person that worked with us and unfortunately passed away early with a lot of effort left behind with the byway, so that's who it's honoring. Okay, I guess ultimately that's what the byway is about. We are still in existence. We still need money, and anything that can stabilize your share of the byway would be great. I think that's all I need to say at this particular point.
And so in the letter that you sent to the council, you were asking for a $200 donation. Was that accurate? And that's what the city council gave last year?
That is probably accurate as to what they gave last year. Seeing the planning of this item of jurisdictions over when it was originally planned, it was a lot of money that we were asking jurisdictions to give. But we're not asking that now. However, my feeling, as well as considering the byway in your area, our Cross Lake area, I think $1,000 set aside in the budget, maybe under the recreation department, maybe under wherever you put fireworks or something, but that each year, you know, you got to have $1,000 more for the byway, and that would certainly buy-in to the byway.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Rod at this time? So it looks like you would rather have us be included in our budget processing
That's
for
what
this
we-
coming year and forego the $200 tonight? Is that what you're saying?
You can forego the $200 tonight, and you can deal with the rest of it as you so like. And it's what we're asking all the other people to do their part too, which several have already last year's. And so,
Okay.
And that's an increase to 1,000 is what you're asking for?
yes,
Yeah.
I think it is a good starting point.
Okay, okay. And Mike, you're making a note of that? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rod.
You're welcome.
And you need to look on the website because the byway brings in lots of tourists and lots of tourist money for us in this region. So, and for sure go down to the Linda Ulen Memorial Butterfly Garden. It's really fun. Moving on to the mayor's report. Before I give my report, I see Leah back there, and I know you guys had your Benny Ricardo event 2 nights ago, was it? And I hope it was wildly successful. They are still in campaign mode, and so for those of you out there who still want to buy a piece of the Whitefish chain or a raffle to win a great little schoolhouse, you can either go on their website or contact one of the people on the board, of which Leah is one. So Thank you.
No, we have to do that.
What?
Don't you have to do the $200 tonight in a motion?
Do I have to do the
Got it down here,
$200
action
motion?
motion.
Or he said he'd rather forego the $200 tonight and be included in the budget? How do you work that
If
down?
you'd like to, you could do the $200 as, let's call it a membership fee
Okay.
donation. I'm not sure that under the statutes you're allowed to do a donation, but let's call it a membership fee. And maybe next year they change their form to say that it's a $1,000 membership fee, and that'd be fine. But there's pretty strict statutes as far as what cities can donate to, and I don't know if this is one of them, but membership fees we can be a part of, so.
So this
Yeah, you
one
could do
says
the $200
$200
You could do the
or
200
more.
tonight.
Okay, okay. So is there a motion on the floor to donate $200 to the membership drive for the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Gary Hecox first. Second?
Well, I'll second it,
Okay.
but a question is he asking for more than that because they need a little more for the advertising?
It sounded like to me he asked us, he wanted $1,000 to be included in our budget for 2018.
Okay, so we do that in the budgeting process and just
Yeah.
wait? Yeah, okay.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Gary. Going on to my report, council members and Cross Lake residents, as your mayor, I am already halfway through my first year. First of all, I love serving Cross Lake and have learned a lot in the past 6 months. From my perspective, we have a great city council that works hard to make the best decisions possible. We may not always agree. However, individually, we all have Cross Lake's best interest at heart. Cross Lake is fortunate to have a fire and public safety department that is one of the best around. We are also fortunate to have a competent staff that does a really great job for us. That being said, Cross Lake is now in a transition period. We have major road construction projects, including the rebuilding of Dream Island Bridge. We are also facing major infrastructure upgrades, including repairs to our sewer plant. And we need to continue to work on maintaining our water quality, including how to better manage the septic systems in our town. The new community school will also present challenges as well as opportunities. And according to housing and demographic studies, the baby boomers are getting ready to retire up north. That segment of the population will require more services and amenities, such as easy connections to downtown, and not to mention a place to live. We also need to determine how the monies from the sale of Cross Lake Communications should be invested or used. When I ran for mayor, one of my priorities was fiscal responsibility. I do not take this job lightly. However, my vote has no more weight than any of our other council members. Over the past 6 months, I have talked with many officials from communities similar to ours and asked for advice and their opinions. Cross Lake is moving forward, and if we are to address this agenda effectively, we will require permanent leadership in place. I strongly believe Cross Lake is now at that point where we need a full-time city administrator. Therefore, I move that we notify Dan Vogt, our current part-time consultant, that the City of Cross Lake will begin the search for a full-time city administrator/treasurer. This notification is in accordance with our agreement with Mr. Vogt that we provide a 90-day notice for terminating our agreement with him. I also move that we eliminate the Treasurer Finance Director position held by Mike Lines. Accordingly, I will ask for a second, with discussion to follow and a final vote. If the motion is approved, I will direct the city clerk to set up a special council meeting to discuss the process we will use in conducting the search for a full-time administrator/treasurer. So there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, now we'll open it up for discussion.
I don't know why we don't entertain hiring within the city, what we've got. Why, My thoughts is Mike Linus would make a great administrator. And it seems like we have done that with other departments as vacancies have come up. So I guess I'm against the motion, but that'll come out in the wash.
You making a motion then, or?
No, I can't, right? There's a motion on the
There's a
floor.
motion on the floor, yeah. Okay.
I'm stating an opinion.
Brad, do you have any comments,
I have
questions?
no comments.
Okay. Gary?
My thought right here is that Mike has been doing this job, and he's done a great job. And I think we go forward with Mike. I am not in favor of getting rid of Mike. What I would do is I would hire Mike as a full-time city administrator treasurer, and then we could use Dan as a consultant, and that's what I would say. I am not in favor of getting rid of Mr. Linus. He's done a great job.
Yes. This is certainly not because people haven't done a really great job.
And so I would not vote for this. I mean,
Okay. Dave?
He could apply, couldn't he?
Yes.
You know, I don't know what the process is going to be, but I would
Yes.
think that, you know, if
He
we're
is-
going to do some sort of a search, that he's certainly welcome to participate as an applicant.
Yes. That is true. Any other questions? Dan, do you have any comments?
Well, thank you. I do. I've been here since March of about 2013. So, as far as having a full-time administrator, it probably is time. I don't have any issues with that. I don't have any problem with that. I've been involved with a couple of other communities. One that I'm currently involved with is in Nisswa, and we're trying to hire exactly the same position, administrator, treasurer. We had 89 applicants. We narrowed it down. We have 3 right now. If Mike would have applied for the job, I'm sure he would be one of the people we'd be interviewing. He is very qualified to do the job. Back when we hired Mike in 2013, one of the things that was said, and it's in the minutes, that we could use, and he could take on more managerial types of work in the future, and I think he's certainly equipped to do that. As far as my role, I'd be happy to stay on as Alderman or Councilmember Hecox mentioned, but as far as my work, I think, would just phase down substantially. But it's very difficult to find administrators in communities, especially in greater Minnesota. And I think you're very fortunate to have someone of Mike's caliber that could take over the position. From what I have seen, you have a great internal candidate. Pequot Lakes went through this process not that long ago, and they tried to hire an administrator treasurer. It's a couple of years ago now, and they went through the entire process. And for whatever reasons that occurred, they didn't hire anybody, and they ended up promoting from within. And I think Nancy is doing a great job there. I was doing some consulting work. In fact, my consulting contract is still open there. They haven't ended it. And it's pretty rare that she contacts me, but she still has that opportunity. In fact, Little Falls, I ended my relationship with them from me going over to Little Falls a couple of years ago, but I still have a contract there. It's still open, and they can call me if they want. They haven't in quite a long time. Frankly, my suggestion tonight would be to appoint Mike. And if you want to retain me on a more limited basis, that's fine. I'd be happy to phase down. In fact, this month, I had $1,000 worth of charge. I think I was up here only 3 times over the month. So I'm not doing a lot. Mike's already doing most of the work. In fact, almost all of the work. He calls me once in a while, and we go through that. But if I had to make a recommendation, I guess I'd echo where Councilmember Hecox was at, and go ahead, appoint Mike. And you've got their annual review process that comes up the beginning of every year, and if you want to have that review, which the council does, usually in a closed session, and if you want to make any adjustments, that would make sense to, if Mike's not going in a direction you want them to go, then you make some adjustments at that point. But, I mean, you've got an excellent internal candidate, and my suggestion would be to go ahead and appoint him and phase me down. But
Any
there's
other-
again, there's a motion
Yeah.
on the floor. And we
Yes.
need to-
Are there any other comments, questions before we take a vote? Okay, all of those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion defeated.
So now can there be another motion made?
Yes.
Can I make a motion to appoint Mike Linus as the acting administrator and retaining Dan Voigt?
Is that a motion?
Huh?
That's a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay.
If I
Dan?
can, to clarify the motion, it would be to appoint him as the city administrator, not acting administrator, I'm assuming.
That's
You would
correct.
Appoint him as the city administrator.
Treasurer.
City administrator,
Yes,
treasurer.
administrative treasurer, right. And I would suggest, the Springstead is currently in the process of doing a salary study for the city. I would suggest that we contact our consultant and let her know that there, if the motion passes, that there's a change in the structure here, and then she can give you some idea of what a salary for that type of position is. And then after the Springstead study has been presented, hopefully approved, then you could go back, I think, make whatever adjustments there are retroactive to tonight's date. And that would make some sense to me. You don't have to do that.
That is
as
my
part-
motion.
But if you could do that as part of that too, that if there's any adjustment from
Okay.
a monetary standpoint, that it would be part of the Springstead study and would come back to a retroactive to July 17th.
Okay.
Do you want to add that to the motion?
I do.
Okay.
July 12th.
So now we have a motion on the
10th,
floor.
whatever
Did
it
we
is.
have a second? You seconded? All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried.
That was unanimous?
Yes, it was.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
So can I just maybe point of order, maybe just for, I think, to connect us with what Dan was saying, is he at the same pay until we get that study back, and then we'll do an adjustment at that point? Is that what you were saying, right?
It's in retroactive to tonight.
Right, but until then, we're at status quo in
Right.
salary, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad. Public forum. No action will be taken on any of the issues raised. If appropriate, the issues will be placed on the agenda of a future council meeting. Speaker must state their name and address. Each speaker is given a 3-minute time limit. Anybody have any comments?
Mark Wessels, 1336 East Shore Road, Cross Lake. Former council member. I haven't been up here since I got voted off, so I've been behaving myself tonight. I was a little upset when I got a memo that Ms. Norgard had approached 2 city employees with a memo that we're going to attempt to terminate them tonight. I don't believe that you have the right to do that without going to the council first. That should have been, my opinion, that should have been a council action first. Do we want to go this way? And if we do, then let's do it. But that should have happened amongst the 5 of you at a public meeting, not, Mr. Roadmember got in trouble for this by going to a city employee and chewing him out for something he didn't think he should do. And we got that, I think it was a 1997 memo from Skip Humphrey on what you can and can't do, and I believe in there it covers it. I might be wrong. You have a city attorney here that can help you out with that, but I think that's the proper route to do. If whenever you're talking about city employees and changing their status, it needs to happen here, not in a memo privately from any one of you. I don't think I had that right to do that when I was on the council. I don't think any single one of you have the right to do that. That's just my 2 cents worth.
Okay.
And by the way, I was supposed to be on a motorcycle ride tonight. I'm here because of this.
Thank you, Mark. Duly noted.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Mugato, and I represent the Cross Lake Chamber of Commerce. And first, I want to say thank you to the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway for preparing that map that they do every year. It's the number one thing that we hand out to visitors when they come through the doors at the Welcome Center. And also, the Lake Foundation that is selling raffle tickets for the Little House are available at the Chamber office as well. And I have had tourists or visitors to the area actually stop in to buy them because they think the house is cool and they want it for their grandkids. I wanted to tell you about the Cross Lake Night Out that we're having on Tuesday, August the 1st. It's in conjunction with the National Night Out happenings across America. This will be the third year we've been doing it, and I've spoken to the Cross Lake Police Department and the Cross Lake Fire Department, and they will be out and about in the community in their squad cars and their police cars. That we're asking the merchants to stay open from 5 to 7 and offer discounts or activities or refreshments and some kind of entertainment for patrons that shop that evening. And I invite you all to visit the businesses that evening. I don't know if you've been into all the storefronts, but we will have a poster listing the businesses that are open that night and what activities they're having. So it would be wonderful if you could stop in and introduce yourselves, say hi, just be out and about in the community that night. I also wanted to touch base and say thank you very much for your contribution for the fireworks that we just had over the 4th of July holiday weekend. Additionally, I want to thank Joel Knippel and Dick Elmquist and Tom Schreiber again for preparing the floating barges that we use to deploy the show. I want to thank Brad Nelson and his son Max Nelson for, poor Max, he hauls the barges out of CNC Boatworks over to the Robert Street Landing. They load up the fireworks all day. He tugs them all the way out to the island, anchors them down, and then after the show, he hauls them back into the Robert Street Landing, and then the next morning he hauls them back over to CNC Boatworks. So it's a lot of work for Max to tug those barges around, and we very much appreciate it. And Brad to CNC Boatworks for storing those barges all year long for us. Additionally, Kent Carlson owns the Sand Island, so we want to thank him for letting us, anchor the barges out near that island. We do have a plan. We have the cans out still, asking for donations. They don't generate a lot of income. Over the past couple of years, we've received about $700 in donations in those cans, but that's $700, so we're grateful for that. But we are working with the PAL Foundation to start a GoFundMe account. So that's a mobile application or an online application where people can donate to the cause. So we'll be promoting that all year long and see where we turn out next year. But it's my guess that we'll be looking to you again to fund at least a portion of next year's fireworks. So I want to thank you in advance, and thank you for this last season.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy.
Okay, moving on to, is there anybody else who would like to come up? Sorry. Your name and state your name and address,
Yes,
please.
my name is Marcia Prescott. I live at 34336 West Shore Drive. I'm directly next to the public access on West Shore Drive. And I wanted to talk about the parking issue, parking on the road. West Shore Drive's a narrow road, at least it seems narrow, with the great big trucks, trailers, and huge boats that are traveling constantly up and down West Shore Drive. And when the parking lot is full, they're parking on West Shore Drive. The trailers are sticking out. There are people on trails going back and forth, and people are coming back and forth from the parking lot over to, to the lake, to the access. It's a dangerous situation. The road it's a hill, and it's a curve on top of it. You can't see coming around the corner. I would like to see no parking on West Shore Drive within, I don't know what distance of the public access entrance, because the entrance is on a hill and on a slope. So my dad built my house. It's been in our family for 50 years, and I'm the owner, the permanent owner now. So I have a much better view of what's going on, and it's a dangerous situation. That's it.
Can we discuss that a little bit, or are we not supposed to? I had a couple calls on that same thing this week.
And I know that there are other people around other areas in Cross Lake that have similar requests. So, Dan, I think what we would do is work with Eric and Planning and Zoning and take a look at the situation and come back to you.
Sure.
Eric?
Well, I don't know about planning and zoning. I'm sure they probably don't want to get involved in this.
Okay,
but,
fine.
maybe
You can have
Public
it all.
Works, Ted and I can work on it a little
Yes.
bit. I mean, alternatives for parking there, I have no idea. I mean, to say no parking at all on West Shore Drive, and once the access parking lot is full, it's full. I don't want to have that phone call either.
Well, the alternative is, I mean, it is extremely dangerous on that corner. And sometimes somebody is going to get whacked out there, so.
I'll certainly work with. There can be, yes, but it's away from driveways and so far back from
Okay,
driveways.
so,
that type of thing.
yes, so you can work with Ted and
Yep.
take a look at it and maybe come back with some recommendations, and we'll go from there?
We can do that.
Sound okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak at the public forum? Okay, now we'll go on to our city administrator report.
Item 1 is discuss the role for the Board of Appeal and Equalization. And I was asked to put this on the agenda. As it currently stands, unless you have enough people that are certified for the Board of Equalization, I mean, if you don't have enough, you turn it over to the county, and then the county performs the function of the Board of Equalization. In my experience in Brainerd, when I was there, we had 8 elected officials, and we didn't have enough people that were certified, and we turned it over to the county. So, you know, it works fine. We didn't hear, that I know of, we didn't hear any complaints or concerns that, you know, they weren't coming to their elected officials anymore, they were going to the county. I mean, usually the county assessor's here anyway, and is giving advice and as far as valuations that should be placed on property. So I guess it's your discussion on how you'd like to handle it.
Didn't we have this discussion? And
We
why,
did during
why
the-
are we sitting here?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've got a fairly sophisticated calculation system, and if, you know, they look at us, it's like, we don't know what.
Right. And
Yeah.
so Gary and I are the ones who are, is that what you're talking about? Certified through the Board of Equalization? And so what you're suggesting is that, or we keep it here, or we want to
Yeah, it's
let
really
the
up to-
county?
It's up
take
to
it?
you.
Let's let the county
I'd
Yeah.
assume send it to the county.
Do we need a motion on that?
I think so, yeah, and then Mike, I guess, or someone can write a letter to the county and let them know what we're doing.
Okay? Sounds good. Would
should be
somebody like to make a motion on the floor?
I have one comment on that.
Yeah.
When this was brought up, when you were, you know, you had to go to the training to be able to sit at the board, and there's only a couple of you, and when it came to, you know, do you want to go, that question, the training was like 2 hours? Was that
Online.
correct? Online. So you're going to become an expert at taking somebody's complaint and evaluating their property because you went online for a 2-hour class?
I don't recall going to any training when I sat on it.
Okay, that's my point. That's even better point. I like that. Thank you, Dave. So in other words, hence why I think probably better served at the county level. Yeah.
Do you want to make a motion on that, Brett?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
Second.
second? Okay. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Item 2 is a resolution establishing procedures relating to compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Service Code, and Mike can handle this one.
It looks like it's just about ready to fall off. First, I'd like to thank all of you for your support, and thank you very much.
I betcha, Mike.
And others. What you have here is a resolution which is basically saying, you know, for the projects that we have going on this summer, we've got the 2017 road projects along with, you know, the improvements at the sewer plant. Because right now, we don't know what the final costs are for those projects, we have an estimate what they're going to be. We've been internally financing the payments on those projects as we go along. So what this resolution does is it allows us to reimburse ourselves for the construction costs of that project along with the engineering when we know what those final numbers are. The other thing this lets us do is it allows us to prepare for our levy for these items. Because if we're issuing bonds, we're going to need to provide a levy to service those bonds also. And if we can estimate what those amounts are, we can do a preliminary certification on those levy amounts in September. And what that does for us is it allows us to save a little money because we won't have to, in effect, issue enough bond proceeds to pay the first interest payment when the bond's first interest payment is due in 2018. And then what we would do in 2018 is we would adjust the levy amount to the revised amount that we need to service whatever debt is ultimately issued on that. So it allows you to levy for those projects a little earlier so you don't have to incur what's called capitalized interest, along with allowing you to reimburse yourself for the construction costs. Now, you need to do this within 60 days of the first expenditure to a contractor. Otherwise, anything you spend outside of that time limit, you wouldn't be able to reimburse yourself with bond proceeds. As a city, you're in the fortunate position that you do have adequate funds to finance the preliminary construction costs on these projects. And so if you time this right, you'd be able to issue the bond proceeds right when you know what those total construction costs are, and not use your own money for it until you make the payments. The second part of this resolution in the back, so the first part of it is to pass a resolution allowing us to follow that process. And then once you do that, and you know what the proceeds are, or how much money you're going to levy for, you file what's called a declaration of intent. Brad's probably familiar with these. And where you list the project description, the project cost, and the amount of the bonds that you're going to issue. It's of course all subject to council approval, but it becomes more of a, with the type of bonds that we're issuing, it's more of a staff issue rather than a council issue to make sure the paperwork gets handled appropriately. So the short story is the council authorizes staff to do these projects, issue debt for them, and then we take care of the rest. So,
Okay, can this
go
be
ahead.
made in one motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So the declaration of official intent and the establishing procedures.
You would do the resolution as it's stated there, and
Okay,
that would include
okay.
the whole process.
Okay, okay. Does everybody have that in front of them?
Yep.
So does anyone, I'd like a motion on the floor regarding the resolution establishing procedures relating to compliance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Brad Nelson first, Gary Heacock second. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay,
And-
thank you.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay.
I've got a couple other items, if you bear with me. We had a discussion this afternoon based on a letter or an email that we had received with regards to some ADA issues, the Americans with Disabilities Act, some ramp issues and some access to some commercial facilities. And when we were talking with our planning people, we found, and they had done quite a bit of research on this, that we do need someone to sign off on commercial building permits with regards to the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA. And we need as a compliance official for the commercial building permits. And what I'd like to do is, and Mike and I will talk about this, but have someone available for you to approve at your next meeting. I wasn't able to get a hold of the people that I wanted to talk to. It'd probably be someone who's a building official in another community that's probably going to do just some consulting work with us when they need to sign off on something, that they would make that sign off. So that'll probably come back to you at your next meeting. I also wanted to report that the budget worksheets for the 2018 budget will go out probably tomorrow, and are looking for the council to establish a special meeting to discuss the preliminary budget and preliminary levy the week of August the 7th. If August the 8th works for all of you, that would be great. And then tell me a time that makes sense. Does August 8th work for everyone? It's a Tuesday.
As long as it's after the evening.
In the evening?
That's a Tuesday?
That's a Tuesday.
What are you thinking, after dinner?
Yeah,
Is that what you're thinking,
I don't know.
after?
It's really up to you.
7?
It's up to your schedule.
7?
Anytime after 6.
6?
6, 6:30, 7? It's up to you. There should be, and then there should be a motion, whatever time you set for the a special meeting on August 8th to discuss the 2018 preliminary budget and levy. And then tell me a time.
And did we decide on 6:30 or 7?
6.
6? Okay. So is there
That
a,
early.
okay, is there a motion on the floor to discuss our 2018 budget, preliminary budget on August 8th?
I'll make that motion.
Dave
August
Schrupp?
8th, 6 PM.
I'll second it.
Second, Gary Hecox. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And the last item, I just want to thank this council, thank previous councils, thank your community and the staff for allowing me the opportunity to serve you. This will probably be my last meeting. I'm sure Mike will be sitting up here, and Cheryl will buy him get him a nameplate, I'm sure, up here. But if I'm called to come back, I certainly will do that. But I'll probably not be seeing most of you, at least in this setting, after this. But I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this community in the over 4 years that I've been here. So
Thank you.
appreciate
Dan,
it.
I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you,
being
Dan.
here.
Yes, he's had numerous calls and emails from me in the last 6 months, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Going on to commission reports, planning and zoning.
Good evening.
Good evening.
What we have before you tonight is we've been working on some amendments to the land use ordinance. And I'll just kind of give you a brief update. Everything that you have, that I have before me now, is in your packet. We did go out for a comment period on this, as is the policy of the city, that started May 15th and it ran through June 19th. And at that point, we received no comments. We didn't receive any comments from the public during our comment period. We did have a public hearing on June 23rd, and we didn't have any public comments on that either. And so we're here for the action from the council tonight. What we're looking at, making amendments to Article 3, Article 7, 8, 11, 14, 20, 25, 29, and 43. Sounds like a lot of changes, but most of the changes were very minimal changes. The Planning Commission did recommend approval to the city with a couple minor changes. One in Article 7 regarding to conditional use permits. They just needed to clarify what was needed for a CUP. It wasn't as clear in the ordinance as they preferred, so we added some language to clarify that. That was in Article 7 under Section 26-185, and it was under number 3. The other change that was made by the Planning Commission was fences. We have a fence ordinance in the city, and one of the proposals was to allow fences in Shore Impact Zone 1, which would have been that first half of the setback from a lake, and the Planning Commission did not want that, so fences will only be able to be in the second half of the setback and nothing down close by the lake. So those are the two changes that were made by the Planning Commission as they went through the review process on this. You will also have in front of you a summary. And this is the summary of the changes to the ordinance, and if the ordinance is approved tonight as submitted, which is my recommendation, I'd also ask that you would approve the summary of the ordinance for us to a publication of the summary as submitted in front of you tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there's some specifics or not, but this has been well fleshed out, I think, through the process. And the big key tonight as to what's really important about this ordinance is Article 14, which is our floodplain. We're required by FEMA to have our floodplain ordinance up and operating by August 15th, and if we don't have it by that point, if it's not published and ready to go, that would mean that anybody who's in the National Flood Insurance Program will be out of that program and not receive the subsidized rates that they have for their floodplain insurance. So that's really the most important change. We've made some other changes, but that really is the crux of the changes that we're making tonight. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, or I would recommend approval as submitted.
Dave and I were at that P&Z meeting, and I think that they were fairly clear and
Yeah,
Good changes.
good discussion.
Any more comments or questions for Chris?
Good job.
I will make the motion to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Dave Schrupp. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Could we get one more motion
And that
to
is the
authorize?
summary,
Yeah.
yes. So we need another motion on the floor for the publication of the ordinance.
So moved.
Dave Schrupp, second. Gary Heacock, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Chris. Public safety, Eric Lee.
Good evening. Since I became chief, I've been trying to put together purchasing some radar signs for the city, specifically 2 for the community center in that area, one on either side. In your packet, you've got quotes from Radar Sign Company, and the signs that would be permanent at the community center would be $4,350 a piece. Now, that is in the ground with the post, with the regulatory sign. Those signs, if you do purchase them, will say too fast or slow down if you're going over a certain speed. This is something that I've been watching down in Merrifield. As you go down there, you'll see the signs down there and other places. I do have one out there right now that I borrowed from Pequot Lakes that I've been putting throughout the city. I also put down in Mission Township. That's a temporary sign, which I would ask to buy 2 of those also. The funds for this, for one of the signs at the community center, would come from forfeiture funds, and which are funds that we receive from drugs, drug money, or DWI vehicle forfeitures, that type of thing. Our costs would come, the city, or the police department's costs would come to about $10,000. I've asked John if he could find the funds. Parks and Rec, they could buy the second sign for the other side of the community center. So 2 permanent signs that are solar powered at the community center, 2 mobile signs that I could place throughout the city as I deem necessary.
And so you're looking for a motion
I'm looking for a
purchase
motion
of those?
to be able to purchase
Those
those.
signs.
Now, how those funds are going to be found by Parks and Rec, I don't know. But I just said that I would put forth the money for one of the signs at parking at the community center.
So the sign that you're using now on the community center road is a borrowed sign?
That's a borrowed sign from Pequot Lakes.
Do you borrow it all the time?
No.
It seems to be here all the time.
I've had it for the last 3 weeks. That's the only time we've had
Isn't that
it.
here all the time?
No.
Oh.
No, we've never had a
Seems
sign.
like I see it in different places,
We do
south
have
of
a
town.
radar trailer
Okay.
that we
That's
had.
what I'm
We've had
thinking
about
about.
10 years, and problem with our radar, having the radar trailer, it's great on the county roads, but when you get onto one of the city roads, they're a lot more narrow. It's difficult to put it out there. Included in the purchase of these signs is software that we can see, when is it high volume traffic. We can do traffic counts with these signs, so if Ted needs something,
Can you issue
traffic-
tickets with them?
No, but we know when people are going faster through there, so we can go over and, have one of the officers in that area at that time.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor, or does anybody have any more questions for
Well, I had quite a
Eric?
conversation with Eric about this, and he just kind of started to tip the iceberg on what these things can do. It's actually rather fascinating, because I brought up to him that I've had a number of my neighbors on Anchor Point are already discussing the fact that people go way too fast down that road now, and they're concerned when this is all done, and they, straighten it slightly, and you get the brand-new pavement, and then it's got this beautiful new 6-foot shoulder on one side that it's going to look like, more like a super highway, which is what happened at the community center. It became and it just wants to make you go like crazy, right? And so we were talking about this because I've been hearing about this for Anchor Point. So a little further into Eric's deal, I mean, yeah, they can do traffic counts. They can see minimum speeds, maximum speeds, average speeds on when people are hauling the mail down there, so he can monitor with officers. It's quite, you know, there's a wealth of information that comes out of these things when you drive. When we drive by them and we just know we're going too fast and we better slow down, and it gives us a warning as a motorist, that's only a piece of the puzzle. There's a lot more information that they can do to better manage, including right down to, you know, the traffic counts, the maximum times, things that Public Works could use. You know, I had no idea that when I was driving by these things, other than telling me I'm going too fast all the time, which I get, I didn't realize that there's really a lot of function to them, and from a safety standpoint, you know, we don't just have that road that everybody's concerned about, but I'm already hearing it from neighbors on my road that have been talking for years, and they brought that trailer down, and I did the same thing Dave Nevin did. I said, well, don't we own that thing? Well, no, we're talking about the new signs with the rings around them that flash and tell you, we're not talking about that trailer.
No.
So just to clarify that, I learned a lot when I spoke with Eric earlier today on this. So.
Good.
There's probably a dozen places in town where you could use them, huh?
There's probably a couple dozen places in town we could use them, yeah. The mobile signs, they will last. I've had the one on the community on Daggett Pine Road since Thursday last week, Wednesday or Thursday last week. It's still working right now on one charge of the battery. Battery's supposed to last a couple of years. It takes half a day to charge it. We can throw it back out somewhere else. It attaches to existing signs, the mobile ones do.
So, I mean, but is that something on the budget that we should think about and get? 'Cause
Well,
there's West Shore Drive, it'd probably help that quite a bit too. I mean,
well, and that's, we have forfeiture funds, and I wasn't aware that we had as much money as we did in forfeiture funds, which forfeiture funds are supposed to be used for budgeted or non-budgeted public safety concerns. So when I saw that we had that money, I don't
how much do you have?
Well,
come on,
enough
come
to pay. I'll be able to pay for these signs with that money.
Okay.
Exactly what it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mike knows, probably to the penny.
And so we should start with just these signs that you're
I'd like to
addressing
start with these
tonight.
4 signs.
And then West Shore Drive, we'll find
Well,
out
in
what we
West
can
Shore
do about
Drive,
that.
you know,
and-
by the public access, might be a good place to have a permanent sign there.
Right, yeah.
You know, on either side. You know, there are those that are out there saying that, yeah, people see them, they don't worry about them anymore. Well, that's not true. I know John has followed some people out, Daggett Pine Road, and they slow down as soon as they see that sign and it's blinking their speed at them. It's not, I know how fast I'm going. Well, the person behind me now knows how fast I'm going. So people watch.
So we're gonna make a motion to approve 4 signs? But then is that coming out of the?
That's coming out of his drug and forfeiture fund.
Okay, so there's.
3 of the signs.
3 of the signs.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll
And
make
then
that
John
motion.
is going to, I believe, will address that in his report, his portion of that, the 4th sign.
I will make that motion.
Okay?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. On another note, I was down with Mission Township at their board meeting last week, and I made the same presentation. They approved buying 1 sign for down there. Kind of came up, discussion, could we buy it? They'd reimburse us, if you're good with that. You know, they'd reimburse us the cost of that sign.
Why, can't they afford to buy it?
I'm ordering them all together because of the discount.
So they'll immediately reimburse us?
Okay.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If that's good with everyone, that'd be great. That'd make my life easier too, and I'm not ordering for Mission Township. Thank you. Secondly, noise ordinance, specifically under, it would be under nuisances. When I became chief a month ago, I found out we don't have one, a noise ordinance. So we were getting complaints at a local establishment every weekend. And tried to make contact with the owner multiple times, haven't received a call back, still getting the complaints. So I can't keep calling and say we're going to do something when there's nothing we can do. So in front of you, you've got the noise ordinance. And basically it gives an hour, restriction of hours when you can do construction work. You can't be up at 5:30 in the morning with a jackhammer. People get upset. Music and people talking outside a bar after 10 o'clock at night, or music coming from inside the bar after 10 o'clock at night, have a tendency to make us go over and tell them to turn it down multiple times.
But if somebody complains, can you go tell them to turn it down now?
We have.
But you just can't do anything more than that.
Right. So what we did is Shar helped drafting this ordinance along with Brad, and we're asking that this be passed, and then along with the summary, and then putting it into the administrative fines. So it'd be $75 an incident. So not, two people called about some party, and, that's 2 incidents. That's just 1 incident.
Oh,
Could be
same party,
$75
two
fine.
people. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Dave, did you have a question on this, whether it escalated or not? or-
No, I think it's a good thing. The only question I had was the resident that sent the email in.
That's,
Is that out of our jurisdiction?
I'm assuming what it's Mark, right? Michael. I'm assuming what Mike Sharonbrock is talking about is that sunken island on South Bay. I think that's right across from his house. And that is a typical place, just like Rush Island, where people come out and, it's not kid-friendly sometimes. I don't have any control over that, unless Brad wants to donate a boat, or I'd certainly go out and take care of that.
For the weekend.
Between the hours of,
Okay, so what you're looking for right now is an ordinance regarding noise violations, correct?
yes.
And it looks like we need two separate motions on this, and then one is to add the administrative fee. Okay, so is there a motion on the floor regarding amending Chapter 30 to include offenses and nuisances, which is noise?
I'll make that
Resolution.
motion.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second, Dave. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. And then an ordinance to add the administrative fine. That would be the second one that you are looking for, correct, Eric?
Summary. Oh,
Not
yeah.
on this one.
The
Ordinance,
summary.
yep.
Right, okay. Is there a motion on the floor to add the administrative fine to the ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, first, Dave Nevin, second, Gary Hecox. All those in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. And then the summary, and this is for publication, publication of that particular ordinance, and it's a summary. Do you have any comments that you want to make on that, Eric?
Police officers will handle that.
Okay.
They'll make, the way I would like to see it done is that they will do the report and make the recommendation to me, and I will go out there with a letter, or I'm assuming, Brad, that, it's not a typical citation. How do we,
I can help, there's forms we've used before for like more zoning matters where we can work on a form, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
all right. And then I would issue the citation for the noise ordinance.
Okay, good. So do we have a motion on the floor for publication of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, first Dave Schrupp, second Gary Hecox. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. One last thing, kind of helping Chip out here a little bit.
D, the resolution.
What's that? Oh, we still have one more thing? You still have one more thing?
Okay.
Adding the fee to the
I don't plan to make this, a habit.
That's a
coming
good
up
thing.
This long, just so you know.
So the D is resolution adding fee to the administrative fine schedule. Okay. So do you have any comments on that, Eric? Okay.
No comments.
Can we have a motion for approval?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Dave Nevin
I'll second.
first, Brad Nelson second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, now one last thing.
Okay.
Mayor, you're aware of NJPA
Yes.
giving the money to Cross Lake and Brainerd Fire Departments for an unmanned aerial vehicle, drone. Cross Lake and Brainerd will each have a drone at their departments used for search and rescue, fire, whatever firefighters do with a drone. And when the money became available to Cross Lake, Chip asked me about the Expedition, our old Expedition. I figured, yep, save the city money. That will become the drone vehicle. You may see the Expedition. It's a 2008 Expedition, so it's not a go-fast vehicle by any means anymore, but it's something that can respond to EMS calls or for the drone use. So rather than get a $30,000 new vehicle, they're taking that. Chip, or the Fire Relief Association, bought a siren box and a radio for my new squad car, which is in. So, because I gave him all the lights and everything that was in that, because it won't fit into the new one. Just for your information, he's gonna stripe that up. He's using Relief Association funds, so that's not costing anything out of the city budget. But I figured I should let you know, because when you see that thing sitting out there and you said to Chief Hartman, yeah, get rid of it, now you know why it's there. So any
Okay.
questions about that, you can talk to Chip.
Okay. Anything else, Eric?
That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dan, thank you. I appreciate your support and your guidance.
You're
And
welcome.
Mike, congratulations.
Okay, next under commission reports is our park and library.
Good evening.
Hi, John.
Radar sign, we are in support of financing the other one from our department. I guess the plan would be to use half the funds from the library and half the funds from the park. And we have collected $350 in donations from the PAL Foundation for that. We sent a letter out to some folks, and we've got $350 towards the purchase. So the balance of that would be financed 50% from library and 50% from park, if that sounds like something that the council would like to do.
I like the idea of the signs.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, yeah. Do you
All
need,
right.
do you want a motion on that,
I
John,
don't know if we
just-
need one or not.
Okay, okay, good.
So we'll just
Okay.
plan on doing that. And
Yep.
between Mike and I, we'll get that figured out. Book sale report, last weekend, Friday and Saturday, brought in a total of $1,623 over the 2 days. So far this year, we've brought in $3,000 on our 3 sales that we've had. So good success with the new program, moving it to room number 3. Shorter hours, easier for the volunteers, and we're making just as much money as the annual sale we used to do that was much more work. So that's working out real well. This Wednesday, we have the second Cross Lake Conversations program at the Community Center, 1:30 to 3. We'll have Chip Lowmiller talking about the Manhattan Beach condominium fire. We'll have the mayor and the Cross Lakers giving updates on current city projects, so we'll give the public an inside look at what's being planned for the future of Cross Lake and some of the items that we're focusing on. And in August, we'll have more detailed details of the maybe the Loon Center. So we've got some updates on that coming up, so that should be interesting. Mystery topic this month is one you won't want to miss. It's a local person here in Cross Lake who has an interesting story to tell. And so anyway, Wednesday from 1:30 to 3 at the community center. And as always, admission is free to that. The August presentation, usually we hold this on the second Wednesday of the month, but we've got the art show in August, so we're moving that up a day. It'll be Tuesday, August 8th from 1:30 to 3. So we will send emails out and update the people on our email list about that change. And hopefully Paul can get that in the paper for us also. Literature Comes Alive, a very popular program put on by Joe Albrecht. That happens each Monday morning, 9:30 to 11 at the community center. So if you're interested in literature, you can come join us for that program. The art show, as I mentioned earlier, that'll be happening August 13th, 14th, and 15th at the community center. Hours are 10 to 5 each day. That's one of our biggest events of the year. Second annual Whitefish Warrior Adventure Run. It's a fundraiser for the PAL Foundation. And we've got registrations available online for that, and we'll also have them at the community center. It's $40. And we're inviting people to come out and try the adventure run. It's a bunch of obstacles, running through the woods, running through the mud, kayaks, archery, you name it. We've got it. It's a lot of fun. So we're hoping to see a good crowd out for that on August 5th. And then we start the first events at 7:40 in the morning. We're also looking for volunteers for that event. So South Bay Park update. We continue to meet with residents of Perkins Road. Went out with a council member this afternoon and did a little tour of the property, and also had contacted one of the major players down there. Haven't heard anything back from them, but I'm going to be gone for a week on vacation, but when I come back, we're going to make the call on which route we're suggesting and move ahead there and have our first team meeting on that and keep that project moving. Just want to give an update on 25 trees that were planted at the park, which is Essentia Health came and made a significant contribution to the city of Cross Lake, so we'd like to thank them for not only their service having the clinic here in town, but also the donation of all the trees that were planted by their own employees. I think it was Saturday, June 24th, if I'm not mistaken. And so we've been watering those 3 days a week, and it was 15 maple, 5 crabapple, and 5 oak trees. So it really made a significant impact on the look of the park and around the playground. And so want to thank them once again for that great donation. Got a new class coming to the community center, a Learn to Paint class. It's put on by Laurel Laborde. It's an introduction to watercolor and then also a beginning watercolor class. So if you're a first-time painter, you can take the intro class. That's July 20th from 1:30 to 4:30. Cost is $20. Laurel is renting the space for us, so the checks are payable to Laurel. Supplies are provided with that class, and the deadline to register is July 17th. And then the second class is the beginning watercolor class, and that'll happen on September, actually 4 dates. It's a 4-part class, August 17th, 24th, September 7th, and the September 14th. Cost for that class is $50, and registration deadline is August 7th for that. So other than that, that's all I have for my report for tonight.
Good. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Works.
I'll fill in for
Okay,
Ted.
perfect.
At our last meeting, Public Works meeting, the commission, I'm looking at G4A, made a recommendation to award 3 contracts. One of them's for a new well, which we've talked about at the Public Works, and it's going to be located down in the joint maintenance facility area next to the treatment plant. Blue Water Wells came in with a quote for $68,395, and the I think Bolton & Mink's estimate was $80,000, so it's less than the estimate, which is great. Second item was line striping. This one's going to be up to Mike to find some more money in the budget to cover Ted's paint costs. So the bid was $16,920 and had $8,000 in the budget for line striping, so.
And on that one, if I can interrupt Councilmember Schrupp, and members, we did receive some money from the state of Minnesota through their municipal state aid fund for small cities, and that was in the amount of about $39,000. We get that in 2 installments, and the remaining funds for the line striping can come out of those funds. So we talked about that this afternoon. So.
And thank you. And the third item is Anderson Brothers should be issued a bid or a contract for crack sealing. And it's a little different than what they've done in the past. You probably have all seen where they put that rubberized tar that they dribble in the cracks and then they dump rocks on them. Well, they've got a new process where they actually, if you've driven down roads where it's all you hear is this thump, 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 and there's big cracks and they're getting deeper every year, somehow they've come up with a product that they can actually level those cracks so you don't even see them in there. So I think it's a lot more material they're going to put in. So it's a new process, and I think there's information in here on the quote. So we're looking for a motion to approve those 3 items.
I'll make that motion.
First for Gary Hecox, is there a second?
I'll second.
Fred Nelson, second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Let's see. Next one has to do with the car wash on County Road 3. The applicant would like to connect to our city sewer. So there's 7 conditions there that the commission felt should be made part of the request tonight. One of the things that is a little different here, the only thing that the car wash will be sending to the sewer plant is the effluent. It isn't going to be the entire usual product that goes to this thing. So and that's because they have sand filters and all sorts of other items that they have to utilize in the car wash. So the hookup fee will be $6,500, and that covers handhelds, bay, self-service car wash. And if they upgrade to automated wash bays, additional hookup fees would be required. The applicant will pay all construction costs and restoration costs. Our city engineer is going to take a look and approve any chemicals that they plan to use in the car wash, and that's so that it doesn't cause any issues when the sewer plant is processing the solution. There's going to be a permanent flow meter that's installed to determine the actual volume, because the applicant has some idea of the flows that'll be there, but he's not quite sure what the business is going to look like moving ahead. Ted is going to conduct some testing on the effluent on a random basis, and any costs for this testing will be paid by the applicant. And the last thing they said was the only thing that's going to be processed in the sewer treatment plant is the effluent, which I mentioned earlier. So we're looking.
Wasn't that like $90,000 before, though, the hookup?
I'm going back a few years. I think we were talking over $200,000 when they equated the
65
flows.
and that's it?
Equated the flows to residential units that they had. But I think their estimates for their business volume was quite high at the time. So
They also had a laundromat going in there.
yeah.
So it was,
Okay, so you want a motion on the car wash,
Yes.
Dave? Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
I have a question. I'm a little confused, I think, with kind of going the same direction here that Dave was. How do we go from one extreme to another? Are they also doing some type of a drain field system that's going to handle part of it and only part of it's going to city center?
They have multiple tanks, special tanks to catch sand, and there's filters in the system over there.
So like when a restaurant has 10 tables versus 110 tables, there's a figure that engineers use, I mean, this is what we've been told before, to say, okay, a restaurant, once again, that holds, has 10 tables is approximately this much on average, and versus one that has 110 tables, there's a figure that they use. There's a figure for car washes, there's a figure for all different types of business. It just seems, and I understand that the commercial hookup fee has been, $6,500, but then how do you, judge from there? I mean, off of the monitoring?
Do you want to address that, Mike?
Well, I mean, I just.
Yeah, it wasn't 2 years ago at 200, it was months ago, and it was like 80 or 90 grand, I remember.
Well, they still got to drill into, that doesn't include drilling.
I mean, good for them that it went down.
I'm just
but
questioning how.
It's kind of a big swing.
Yeah, Mike Reardon, Bolton and Mink, so I've been involved in most of those discussions, not the ones way back. The proposal earlier this year was for the touchless and the self-service bay. So he wanted to have it all permitted. So in that evaluation, he provided some numbers, and it was really in the touchless area that the numbers were very high. And we were having some difficulty trying to figure out through him what those numbers were, because he didn't have a professional involved or whatever, and it was pretty confusing. Anyway, he's backed away from that whole touchless piece. He doesn't know that he can afford it, or if he can, it might be a year in the future. So he's looking at the self-service wand system now.
Okay, so his use is a lot less.
And so that's
Good for
really
them.
minimal. And there's about 600 gallons a month that's estimated for that. And that's where the one ERU connection comes in at that.
So being it's metered, if it's a lot more than that, then you'll.
Well, that's part of the
adjust
agreement with him, the understanding will be written in the permit that based on the metering and over a period of time, say it comes in at 2 or 3 ERUs, so the use is high, then he would be agreeable and required to come back and pay additional connection fees, along with just the regular, the rate charge too would go up.
Yeah, okay.
So that'll be built into the permit.
Yeah.
But right now, it looks like it would be 1 ERU there.
Right. So that, I just want to know that if questioned, the council is justifying this fee versus a hotel that came into town or a restaurant that hooked up or anybody else. So I just was kind of curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those establishments are quite a bit easier to estimate. They're pretty well defined versus a car wash. That could be all over the place. But I think even then, all your commercial accounts out there do have meters, and they're monitored, so you can adjust those should those initial estimates turn out to be incorrect or whatever.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation of the hookup.
Okay,
Is that what you want?
yes, thank you, Dave. Is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Brad Nelson, second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. And then you have one more?
One more
Dave?
item
Yep.
which deals with the Dream Island Bridge project. Now that we've been advised that we're going to get some funding, we'd like to get this started. And as some of you know, we've got a couple issues with two residents regarding easements. And we're looking, I think our city attorney has been working with the residents, but we're trying to put a little sense of urgency on this. If you can't come to an agreement within 30 days of July 5th, and use your judgment that you're going to, I assume you're going to move it to the condemnation process, which I don't understand totally, but.
No, in my mind, we're already on that path.
Okay.
We're still hoping to settle, but we need to keep going as if we're not going to settle, just in case we don't settle.
Right.
That's how I interpreted past motions from the council. So we're still working on settlement, but yes, now I know that it's more urgent than it was before, since we have the funding in place.
Thank you.
So if they don't settle it, Brad, is it 90 days out or
Yeah.
120?
It's probably about, to be fair, it's 90 days from when we have the notice out, which has not gone out, so it's probably 110, something like that. But again, that doesn't mean we are going to condemn. I still hope we settle before
Come
that.
to an agreement, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it's probably going to put it off till next year anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I talked with Dave Reese this afternoon based on this memo, and unless we settle pretty quick, it's probably going to be next year.
Okay. So what is your motion that you're looking for on that then, Dave?
It's as stated that the commission recommended that if you don't get a resolution or an agreement within 30 days of July 5th, that you kick it off. So August 5th in round numbers,
Okay,
start the process.
okay.
Now, you can start earlier if if it would help.
Yeah, I think that's more just, a motion might be, we've already kind of gone down that path.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's-
just consensus that what I'm doing is what the council wants me to do, keep moving and kind of have that deadline because it's more time sensitive than it was back. I think it's been several months ago that we got authority to start condemnation, but it was with the kind of understanding that we can slow play it and hopefully work it out with the neighbors, and that timing has changed.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we really need a motion. I think it's more of an
Yeah.
update, is what I
I
would call it.
think-
Well, we can
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think you understand what's
Yep.
going on, so.
Okay. Anything else, Dave?
No, that's it.
Okay. Brad, do you have a city attorney report?
No, I don't.
Other than what you've already given us?
Sure, yep.
Okay. Our last public forum is no action will be taken on any of the issues raised. If appropriate, the issues will be placed on the agenda of a future council meeting. Speaker must state their name and address. Each speaker is given a 3-minute time limit. Does anybody have any public comments? Is there any old business?
Yeah, I got some old business. I don't know if I can do this or not. Mike, are you a technician? I just want to put these on the board. I've had real heartburn about the park dedication fee down at Town Square. So I want to revisit that. I was there on Saturday. They had a band playing. And as I was sitting back in front of the stage, I did about a 5-picture panoramic around it. And I don't know, I would guess there was at least 1,000 people there. Before that, they had the rib cook-off over on the water park side of it. And that was, I don't think there was as many people there, but it was busy, full, the ribs are gone in 20 minutes. So I want to make a motion, revisit the motion that was for 50% last month. And I want to make a motion to waive the park dedication fee. Dedication fees for proposed townhouses and apartments at a cost not to exceed the cost of the proposed park pending receipt of the cost estimate. So it's really not, all it's doing is taking the park dedication fee and contributing it to the park, is what I'd like to do. But we would not charge him for it. We would give him the money to put back in the park. And after looking at the pictures and showing the value that that's got to this community, I had a hard time for the last month, I think we need to reward him for what he's doing to the town. So that's my motion.
Is there a second on that?
This is in regards to the
8 or the 4 duplexes and the townhomes.
And the future townhome.
If it
Townhome and apartment complex, is that what?
Right, that's correct.
That we discussed last month?
Last month, we gave him 50% on the 4 duplexes to address the townhomes at a later date.
So have we done any surveying of how other communities handle something like that? I know I called one and got a response. I talked to someone at their Park and Rec how they handled something like this. But I wonder if we don't need to do some more research on it to find out how other communities handle it. I think, Brad, to your point last month,
I think,
We set a
I
precedence?
purposely put this back into the building of the park. So the park dedication fee is to be applied
yeah.
with an estimate from them, not to exceed
Yeah.
the dedication fee.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody else wanted to build a facility like that in the future, why wouldn't we let them do it? Especially based on what we've seen for the past years out of that park.
Anybody have any comments?
So the 50%'s gone?
Well, no, it's very much there right now, but I'm proposing it to be gone and give them 100%, just take
So
away
they
the fee.
They would pay 100% of the,
No, they would build a park and give us costs for it. And if we got 40 units at 50, it's $60,000 is what the fee would be if it was the full fee. So what we're doing is indirectly contributing $60,000 toward that park, that future park that we don't know what it's going to be, but that he's going to put there. Based on what he's done in the past, though, I think that's going to be very well-spent, encouraged money. And I think the developer would take that as a real compliment. I think he would give him a good feeling and support from the town, which I think he is very much entitled to.
Do we do that for every developer that comes to Cross Lake?
Well, I don't know. If they had a plan, if they came to something and it looked like it was thing, why wouldn't we? I mean, that makes this town a lot, the presentation of this town is a lot. You look at the park and you look at the people that were there last weekend, and every Saturday night when they have music there, and they look at this and they look at that park and that setting and they say, boy, this town of Cross Lake is really a cool place. We're taking credit for something that we don't have any credit due on. And I think I'd like to be a part of it. And I think if we could chip into it a little bit and be a part of it.
Council members, any comments, questions, concerns? Dan or Mike?
I was just thinking, maybe Brad, from a technical standpoint, if you have to have a motion first to rescind the previous motion and then put a new motion out to
No, I
change
think
it.
you can always reverse past actions,
Sure.
and a motion trumps the last one, so you can do it.
Okay.
It's just, the part of the park fee is not due until they plat it. So that's more my,
By doing it now, though, it helps them plan a little bit and move forward with what they're, I would think, if I was doing it, it would.
Mark, did you have a comment?
Mark Wessels, Cross Lake, I've been here before, and I always have an opinion. On this particular issue, you made a great point, are we doing this for other developers? I just need to remind the council that in our park dedication fee, it usually says land or cash in lieu of land. The land part never gets used anymore. So what Dave is proposing is that instead of paying cash as a park dedication fee, that he dedicate and build a park for the city as his park dedication fee. If you're familiar with out in Manhattan Beach Peninsula, every 13 lots, there's a right-of-way that goes to the lake. That was a 1927 park dedication fee. Those kinds of things have been around for a long, long time. The only problem with it, and I did talk with Dave about this, the only problem with it is, okay, so he builds the park and then 5 years later decides he wants to put up another apartment building where that is. So you need to have a protection in that he's good. If we're going to give you that park dedication fee back, so you build this park, that the park stays there. And how to do that, that is 100% in Brad's control here, this person's control, on how you protect that, a lease, an easement, whatever, I don't know how you do it. Giving it to the city, there's some issue then with who maintains it, so you've got a lot of things to discuss there.
Couldn't you do that through the permitting process and the CUP or something?
You put conditions on it. I'm sure Brad knows how to figure that out. He's probably done it a time or two. But land in lieu of, or I mean, the cash part of the park dedication fee was always in lieu of land. It used to always be land. And then they said, well, we need money to maintain all these parks, and that's where it gradually went almost 100% cash. It's very rare that you see a council, or county board for that matter, take land instead of the cash contribution and park dedication. But it is, remember, park dedication. If he's going to build a park with that money, just the only protection the city really needs is make sure that park stays there and is maintained. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, good. Thank you.
What do you say on that, Brad?
well, we can, the easement parts, we can draft that. It's more, again, just the, when's it, typically the park fees due, not that you can't talk about it now, but the park fees due when they plat that, they haven't yet. I mean, the apartments are coming in later. And then secondly, Mark's definitely right. You can definitely give land in lieu of cash. Typically, there'd be a, like we've kind of talked a bit in the last meeting, there'd be a evaluation of the land done, so if the park fee is 50 grand and they give land worth 50 grand, it's a wash. So I haven't heard any numbers, it's just, they're gonna build something. But the concept is fine, you can definitely do it. You can definitely reverse your past action. So it's just a matter of, and legally, I get, politically it's a different analysis, but legally it's supposed to be about this development, not other ones. I get it's right next door, and I personally have been to those concerts many times, it's great. So I'm not, it's a great deal, but it's supposed to be about this development. But you, other than that, other than quantifying it somehow, you can definitely give a credit for the fee due as long as they contribute something to the city. And we can regulate that by an easement. That's not hard to draft.
Is there any harm in seeing what we're going to dedicate or give money for?
Are you worried about it? Are you worried about
I
the?
should be a
Are
little
you worried
bit.
about the investment?
I just
'Cause
want.
I am absolutely not.
Well, but I'm just here representing
Right.
other people in the city, and
Well, I think if you
just
took a
don't- I
poll,
don't feel
I
good
think
about passing out
the
money
far
without seeing what
majority
we're getting, so.
would
And
think it's a good thing.
I trust them, but I'd like to see what's being planned.
Well, I mean, we could approve this based on a plan that comes in and he's going to exceed the investment or whatever the question is, I don't know.
Be the way
60
to do
grand
it.
goes pretty fast, you know?
Good way to do it.
I know you guys heard from me a lot about this. Thank you so much for bringing this up. This is a very nice surprise. I just wanted to reiterate, though, you guys are worried about setting a precedence, and I think this is a good precedence to set because this was to have the city financially support a developer that wants to bring in workforce housing. A developer that can build workforce housing in a number of towns, but is choosing to build it in ours if we can help the developer financially as well as you know, with the resolution that was already passed. So this is not just a developer, this is workforce housing.
So I think if it were to go through, you know, we should have some kind of security or surety that the money is going to be put into a substantial park based on 60 grand, whatever the dollar amount is. But I think conceptually, I think if we could approve this tonight and fill in the corners, I mean, I'd be all for that.
All I'm saying is I'm just not used to spending money on things I can't see.
Well,
I
that
can read
motion-
drawings, you know.
But that motion was a bit, or not motion, but that comment was a bit different, or that suggestion. There it was, you know, again, I'm not doubting at all they're going to spend that amount of money, but it'd be, at least there'd be you know, that's a condition of the motion in that case.
Yeah.
Not about past actions or who it is. I mean, that's not, those are not legally
Right.
defensible.
Right.
You know, I stipulate that he's, you know, again, nobody argues he's a great guy, but that's not how we
Should
give out
decide.
money from the
Yeah.
city, you know.
Well, I think it's a
And
great
so-
asset to the city, though, aside from the guy or anything else. I think what we see there is a huge asset to us, and it's not ours. Unfortunately, I wish we had a little bit of ownership of it, but we don't.
And so this is,
Sorry.
this is just, you know, just a question. So say, for example, we do that, then our Park and Rec, they do not, we're not supporting our Park and Rec with all of, theoretically, we're losing that money, we're getting the land, but Park and Rec doesn't have any of those fees coming in to support any of their projects.
No, it's not theoretical, that's what it would be. yeah.
Right, okay, thank
But
you.
look at it this way. If we did do it and we imposed the 100% park fee, maybe it was the straw that broke the camel's back and they go away and nothing gets done there. So instead of having a good thing done, that we're not giving up any money because it's not money we have and it's not our property, it's nothing about it is ours. So we're not giving up anything.
If the precedent you set was that future developers would have to either give the money or spend that much or more building green space and parks, then is that a bad precedent?
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
You know, here's I've always, this park dedication thing, I think that a reasonable amount of money towards Park and Rec with the development of land has always been a good thing, within reason. It got to be too extreme for a while. How much should you really give? You want to divide your 40 into a couple parcels and now they want 10% of the value. Okay, that's ridiculous. But to give a reasonable fee, to give $5,000 or maybe, you know, $10,000 or something, fair to help the city develop their green space and take care of parks for all. But, you know, in the hindsight, if the object is that you're creating green space and you're trying to encourage more park development and have, you know, that type of design town and that type of, you know, of look in your town. And then also, I just look at the side that with that developer, you know, a lot of tax dollars rolling this way.
yeah, I mean,
You know, I mean, look at the end game on
such a
this.
win.
So you know, I know where Dave's going with this, and I was not settled with that decision either at the time. I think that we're gaining so much potentially from this that we're kind of looking at, you know, at the wrong end of the horse here. And, you know, I just don't know of 100%. I mean, I you know,
Brad, what's the
I'm
difference?
saying I understand, but I'm just saying as far as the precedent, I think maybe a small portion, if it was 5% or 10% or whatever, still, you know, comes back to go to general city funds. But I'm on board with David. I don't know how we'd like to study this or look at this, but I'm just agreeing with you that
I would rather
to
make a
revisit this is a
bold
good idea.
statement, though, and
So.
give them our blessing.
But I don't agree with the precedent thing, because I think each one of them, you know, you don't get a lot of developments like this, so, you know, to say that you're helping out the, you know, the guy, the developer, or, you know, whatever, well, as each one of these comes across the table to future councils, you can look at what it is and what it's offering to the community, and what the value of it is to the community, and let it ride on its own merit. I don't think that's a bad precedent to set.
So we could alter this motion to say that it's on an approved or a plan that is acceptable to the council. So, you know, they'll go and they'll put their plan together, they'll come back, hey, we're gonna do a water park here and a picnic, that's gonna cost this much money, and yeah, it looks great.
Gary?
I can go along with that.
But, you know, if we charge them 1% or 5%, why not just give them 100, just give it to them? What's the difference? It's a pat on the back, Brad.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dave?
You want input from John?
Yes.
Or John's commission?
Or
I mean,
John?
it's not wise to not run this stuff by them at times.
Do you have any comments on that, John?
It's totally up to you. You know, we've got an ordinance that if we're going to make decisions like this, we should look at the ordinance and change the ordinance. I don't think it's healthy to pick and choose who's going to get discounts and who's not going to get discounts. I don't think that's good city policy. I don't think that Mr. Persons likes dealing with issues like that all the time. I agree. Town Square is a great asset. So.
We have never had anything like this come to the city, and we probably never will, an opportunity for an individual like this to come in and do what he's done. I mean, hopefully we will, but I can't imagine it.
I think you'd have to, you know, my suggestion would be that you would establish something permanent where if a developer's going to do a park, you're going to get a percentage discount to persuade them to do that kind of development. But to pick and choose who's qualified and who's not when you're doing the same exact project, you're going to get sued eventually when you deny the next developer that comes in. And we don't know if the developer that's doing this development, we don't have enough information to know if that's the gentleman you think's going to get the discount or if the company that's coming in to build this is going to get the discount. Those are details we don't know. We know we want that type of development in here, so it's totally up to the council. If you support that and you think that's going to promote that development, if they can't do that development because they're short $60,000, if it's that tight. But I know that for the 8 townhomes that they're planning right now, the motion was the 8 townhomes would get a discount, and then the apartment complex would have to be built within 5 years to get that discount.
Right.
So if you do away with that tonight, and the apartments don't go up, that's what you really want to see happen. If the apartments don't go up, you're not going to charge for those 8 townhomes, and you're going to be out that money. And that's not the development. You're really hoping that goes in. You're hoping the apartments go in. Correct? That'd be my only point.
I don't think the issue is that we recognize the need for green space, parks, or additional housing here. For me, it's not having a complete picture and that we're just dealing on individual case by case. And I like to see a little bit more full-blown package on what that would look like. So when we do make a decision, we're not making a decision, you know, just based on the comments that we hear tonight. We have some really solid background to make a decision, because we're making a decision for the city.
I don't have any problem giving him the money back. That's not the problem is, we should have some numbers as to what he's spending there.
Well, so.
And if he spends $75,000 on this park, why not give him $60,000?
Well, I guarantee you, he will.
That's
But
what
you're
you
right,
need.
we
Yeah.
should have
That's
some.
what we
It'll be
need.
done right, there's no doubt. It'll be a
Yeah,
beautiful
He'll
park.
spend a lot more than that on it, I'm sure.
And I agree with you.
I agree.
But
Yes.
we're
We could
making-
tie to this motion something just assuring us that he's going to do it.
We
know.
still haven't heard from the other side yet, right? I mean, we've got,
Yeah, right.
you know, the apartment side is yet to come, and I know the time is always of the essence with development. I just, I'm going down the road where Dave is, and obviously, you know, Mr. Hecox is as well, but I just think that we need a little bit more of the plan to come together.
Yes, yes.
That's what I would like to see.
That's what- yes. We're
But
making
the
a
fact that Dave
decision.
is brought this up about revisiting this and wasn't settled about this in the last 30 days since our last council meeting, I will agree with that. Obviously, Mr. Hecox is agreeing with that also. That's where I will stand on it.
Yeah.
I just don't feel ready to make a motion or back a motion. I just think it's said, it's back on the table, and I think that, you know, when the second part of this puzzle, the apartment people come in and different things, and we got more of a complete plan to look at, we can look at waiving a part dedication fee.
Yep.
You know, I would agree with that. I mean, if the apartments don't go in, will that park be built? Who would that park be built for if there's not apartments there? That's the other question the Park Commission had.
But I'm all in
So-
favor of anything that we don't have to maintain in the future that doesn't cost us money after the fact.
Yeah.
I love those types of items.
Right, yeah.
So,
So the-
John, did you have something?
John Colstead, Planning and Zoning. Just as the preliminary plat is coming before the Planning Commission and the final plat at the July meeting. So next month, you'll be hearing and looking at the preliminary and possibly the final plat. And you can't even look at the final plat until you tell me how much I need to collect from them for their park dedication fee.
Is that for the apartment building?
No, not for the apartment, for the townhomes.
Okay.
So I'm not saying you have to make a decision, I'm just saying it might delay what they're trying to do. If I can't, you know, otherwise they're gonna be paying half of the fee for the 8 units, or excuse me, 9 different ones that are going in there. So,
Well, that's good information to have, so therefore it is holding things up.
and I do believe that you could address it. It's gonna show in the plat that there's open space in between where the townhomes are and the final, wherever the apartment building ends up at. But you also be able to address it in a conditional use permit, put it right in as a condition that this park will be a private park dedicated to the public, and it has to remain there as one of the conditions of that conditional use. And if it goes away, then they lose their conditional use permit and they got to shut down. So those are options that you have in the future through the permitting and the planning process as we go through this. So hope that helped.
That helped a lot.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
I just think for the home camp there, this would be kind of a little rallying token that the city could give to them. And I'm not worried at all about how the money is going to be spent or what it's going to do. And,
Any
you know,
other
it's
comments?
based on years of, it's not just a couple little deals. This thing's been going on for a long time.
Mr. Person, do you have any comments on the way John just phrased that?
No, it's like I said, the credit's no big deal. I just wanted to base it on this piece of dirt, not past actions, not who it is, and have some numbers that we can tie it to. Other than that,
No emotions.
you can easily do it. Yeah.
Facts.
Well, I'm gonna
So is
leave-
there a motion on the floor,
I'm
Dave?
going to leave my motion sit as
Okay,
stated.
Shar, did you write that motion down?
I think I maybe kind of did.
Okay.
Motion to waive park dedication for townhomes and apartments up to the cost that is spent on the park pending receipt of a cost estimate and plan.
So that kind of covers it. I mean, need a plan
Pretty close, that's pretty
and
good.
a cost estimate.
Repeat that last half of that.
Pending receipt of cost estimate and plan.
Okay. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, Brad Nelson, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried, unanimous. And that is subject to numbers and a plan. Okay.
Good for the city.
Okay, let's see, where are we? Goodness sakes. And that was old business, right, Dave?
Yep.
Any new business? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Dang, this meeting went 40 minutes over. There you go, man.
Dan, I think